Hey guys, it's Quana. I know it's been a little while. I'm so late, but I'm all ready to talk all about Insecure season 4, episode 9. Lowkey trying, and Molly is lowkey trying my patience to the nth degree. So I had to take a moment. I was like so mad Sunday night after this episode aired, and I was like, I knew it was going to try my patience. So Saturday night, I watched Yvonne Orji's special. Bad props to you. It was cute. And then Sunday, Insecure came. And I'm going to tell you what I was thinking going into it. So recap my thoughts from last video. I was praying that Issa was good. She had her little, closure moment, I thought, with Lawrence. She got her son and she got up out of bed and she felt good. She was like, I don't need a ride. I'm going to walk home. I'm feeling good about myself. And so I was like, okay, so bet this episode is going to deal with her and Molly, and they are going to hash it out. That's what I thought. But Issa said, oh, you thought wrong. So going to this episode, again, hope you saw it because I'm about to spoil the heck out of the whole thing. So it starts off with Lawrence and Issa sitting on the couch in his apartment, and they are booed up, and we get a nice little montage of them laughing, eating, kikiing, and screwing all over the couch, and they're having a good time. And I mean, they cute or whatever, even though I was kind of hoping that Issa would be like, no, I'm just gonna do me for a little while, but I mean, let's be honest. Her and Lawrence are cute. They're cute together. But I'm still on the fence because I like Nathan too, and he's cute with her too. So I don't know. We're gonna see what happens. But they start talking about, what they're doing. They're having a good time. Does he have any loose ends? And he's like, nope. I've tied everything off with Condola. I'm done. And so she says, well, I have this friend Nathan, and we used to date for a minute, but now we're just friends, and he wants me to help him move into his new place. Do you mind? And I love the fact that they've gotten to this place where, it's like they're both cautious with each other to the point where it's created this space of respect. She does not want to do anything shady and behind his back, and I love that because that's what relationships should be. It should be very much of like we are discussing, respecting each other. And so I'm glad that they have gotten to that space. So then we get Molly, and from what we saw episode 7, Molly has called Dr. Rhonda, and she's back at Dr. Rhonda's crib, and she's talking to Dr. Rhonda. And a couple of takeaways from this. So she's first out the gate talking about Issa and the relationship with Issa. And Dr. Rhonda hits her with the, do you want to be right or do you want to be in a relationship? Because you have all these people that you've basically cut out because you were waiting for them to beg you for an apology to basically crown you as the one who is right in the situation, and you're not going to get that in every relationship that you have. So you're either going to be right or you're going to be in a relationship. Then she hit her with the, is the relationship with Issa still serving you? And I have forgotten all about the like, is it serving you from season 2? And then she's like, finally, do you want to do the work to repair the relationship? Now I'm gonna hit you with this. I have been Team Issa, but a Molly supporter this whole time. But I'm gonna hit you with this. Not once in her discussion with Dr. Rhonda does she admit to being wrong about how she handled the situation with Issa in regards to blowing up at her event. And that was very telling to me that it seemed like all she did was point out Issa's wrongdoing. And I'm not going to say Issa is right. At the end of the day, even though, yes, in episode 1, where she told Issa, somebody at Live Nation, aka Andrew, and he can help you out or whatever, she promised her that she was going to let Andrew help her in episode 1. But okay, it's her relationship. She can kind of change courses and say, no, I don't want to do that. So I'm going to give her that. I'm going to give her the space that that's her man. She can do that. But you were still wrong for showing your tail at that girl's event. You were still wrong for that. And at no point in time did she say to Dr. Rhonda, I was wrong in this. And so we see a cycle of her not admitting where she is wrong. She mentioned the stuff with Torian, and I don't know how much she talked to Dr. Rhonda about the situation with Torian, but she was wrong in a lot of that situation and a lot of stuff that happened there. And so we see the cycle of like her blaming, her blaming, her blaming. Even the situation with Dro, because really, what did Dro do wrong? I mean, he was wrong for how he handled it, but he was upfront with her about what it was, and that's not his fault that he took time away from her where she could have been working on a quote unquote real relationship. Anyway, we fast forward to Issa, and Issa is back at her place, and she's trying to figure out what she should do. Should she help Nathan? And so she tries to call Kelly, but Kelly's not there, so she calls Amal. I can't say it enough. We need Amal. We need Kelly. They just bring that life to the show that we need. So Amal is like repeating back to her everything that she says, and he's really not trying to hear her because he's at his little spot getting his grub on, and his mouth is burning, and so he's like, "You got what you paid for." Click. And I love it. So at the end of the day, she then thinks about calling Molly. And so she calls Molly, and she's like, "Hey girl, what you doing?" And then they start talking, and she's like, "Well, yeah, I missed you. I have so much stuff I want to talk to you about, with like work, and also back with Lawrence, and there's nobody I want to talk to about that." And so then Molly snaps on her. And of course, we find out this is all in her mind. But let me tell you why this scene is so important. This scene is so important because it shows us in that moment the words that Molly said to Issa have struck a chord, and she's actually trying to learn from them. So when she does call Molly, she never really talks about herself too much. And we see that later on in the episode, when they go to brunch. But we see that she actually has learned something from that exchange, from what happened. Okay, so then she invites Molly to brunch, and we see her being nervous, but I'm gonna tell you a couple of things. So they meet for brunch, they're having a good old time. I'm gonna tell you a couple of takeaways I got from that. One, Issa hugged Molly first. Two, she was keeping eye contact with Molly the whole time when Molly was trying to avoid eye contact with her. Three, she asked Molly about her family. How's your nephew doing? And she found out about the baby. And then she asked Molly about work, and she did all of this before she ever brought up anything about herself. And I don't think she ever told Molly about what was going on with her. So even though she didn't bring up what happened at the block party and also just what was going on with the relationship, we see her trying to build the relationship back in a way where she is taking ownership of things that Molly has said. You only care about yourself, you're being selfish, she pays for the meal. And it made me think about back to what Dr. Rhonda said about whether or not Molly is willing to do the work, because we didn't see Molly do any of the real work in reestablishing the relationship. We didn't see her really engage Issa in conversation. She was very passive in that moment. And so as much as I want to like tell the people online and the people who are angry, yes, I support Yvonne, and I generally like Molly. Molly is wrong. I'm just gonna say it up and down. If you think that Molly is right, she might have been right in that moment for that one issue, but she is wrong because she does not have the ability to let bygones be bygones and actually heal from the moment. Either way, the little talk goes well, at least to Issa's mom. And so she gets in the car, she's excited, and she calls Lawrence, and she tells him that things have gone well, and we find out that he did very well in his job interview in San Francisco, so he might be moving to San Francisco next episode. So the next thing we see is Issa and Nathan, and it is uncomfortable. I mean, like the tension between the two of them, because it is clear that Nathan still wants to be with Issa. And I mean, you think about from the very first episode where they had all of that sexual chemistry together, the very first time that they met, even out after the lift incident, like it's clear. And so she's trying to avoid him, moving around the house, trying to box up things. And then finally she just has to go ahead and say, "Hey, I'm back with my ex." Now, I don't like that he then tries to talk junk about Lawrence and say, "Well, I thought he was, flaky and all this kind of stuff. But I can understand it because in his mind, he thinks he's been making the moves to get back together with Issa and then just to be kind of caught off guard by this. But he agrees that she's somebody he wants in his life, and so he's willing to just be friends with her. And I thought that that was just very beautiful, and it speaks to the energy that Nathan brings to Issa, where he actually values her and she actually he sees something good in her and he validates her. So I love it. He confesses to her that he found out that he didn't just ghost her. He found out that he was bipolar and it wasn't just depression. And so he was dealing with that. And so they start to kind of, I guess, try to figure out this new thing that they're going to have with in terms of the friendship. Now, I don't know that they can actually be friends. For one, they smashed. Two, there's a lot of sexual tension between the two of them. And he still is very much interested in her. So I don't know that they're going to actually be able to be. So because they smash, because there's all that tension, I don't think that they can maintain a friendship. So I think either he is going to be a dangler if Lawrence does go to San Francisco and him and Issa part ways, and then maybe it'll become something, or we might not see it. Nathan might go the way of Daniel. We haven't seen Daniel in a full season. So he might go the way of Daniel, and he might just be a blip. If so, if next week is the last time we see Nathan, props to Kendrick Sampson. He's been out in these streets, holding it down, protesting, bringing power to the people, and I take my hat off to you, sir. Excellent job. All right, so then we get back to Andrew and Molly. Now, earlier in the episode, we saw Andrew and Molly, and Andrew, we find out that his brother is back in town and he's trying to make amends with them and build the relationship back up. So he bought tickets to the Clippers game and he wanted to invite them to come on out. It's very telling that Andrew is talking to him in their native tongue, and every time Molly comes in the room, he switches. It's a sign of, I think, respect on his part, but it also, I think, shows that he doesn't feel comfortable with her, that she's going to automatically assume the worst. And I think that he senses that, so he automatically switches back to English. So when they come back in the evening, she was supposed to pick up some Indian food, and she was like, I know you like that place, but I didn't like it because the naan was na, so I went and got some Chinese food. And, he just lets it go. But again, we talk about selfish. She didn't pick up the phone and say, hey, I know you wanted this. What if I got you this and I went and buy this place? Or what if you came out and you got, there was just nothing. I was like, I don't like that. And ultimately, he tells her, they both had good points. She was like, I didn't go to the game with your brother, and why would you ask me to do something that makes me uncomfortable? Which is true. There should have been a discussion about it. But there also should be a discussion about, this is my family, and at some point in time, I need you, if we're going to move forward, to work toward me. If my brother is legitimately and honestly trying to make an amends with you, I need you to meet him halfway because he's my brother. And I think Andrew senses the fact that Molly's not, if she can't forgive her best friend, who she's had a relationship with for years, how is she going to forgive his brother? And you can't ask that man to cut his brother out of his life, at least not this early in the game, not for this one incident. So I do think that is going to be problematic, and I think that's going to be a source of problem for them. Probably we'll see that in next episode, if not definitely next season. While they're still talking, Issa and Nathan come in the room to pack up some things, and they end up eating some food together. They end up having a good time. Everything is going well, they're playing, giggling. I do notice the body language. Issa has separated herself from Nathan because she's trying to keep that distance between them. It's like we're just friends. Molly is down on the floor close to Andrew, but still kind of distanced herself away from Issa. But they decide to have a little drinking game. I noticed that when the game came up and Nathan was like, oh, we should play, Molly was going to say no, and then Andrew puts his hand on her to stop her and no, let's give it a try. So he does that. He looks at her, makes eye contact with her multiple times. He goes to get some more drink. He smiles at her, all of these things to me are like code for I see you trying. And she's like, I see you trying. So why this girl felt the need to pull out her phone and text him, see, I'm trying with her. He has already paused you in cutting out early. He's already smiled at you and acknowledged the fact that, okay, this we're vibing, we're doing this good. Why in this moment do you need a pat on the head or a gold star to say, I'm trying with my friend? Like, you need brownie points. Are you doing this for him or for y'all's relationship? And ultimately, she ends up sending the message to Issa, and Issa cuts out. And so when Issa leaves, Molly runs after her, and so now they're finally at the point where they're gonna have their confrontation. And she's like, you're trying with me? Like, I didn't know I was so difficult to be around. And she was like, come on, this, what this is. Like, we haven't talked. We had one brunch and you expect it just to be over with. And she was like, no, but I feel like I am the only one putting in real effort and trying to really, repair this relationship, and you're not really trying. And Issa is right. We have seen up and down in this episode where Issa is definitely putting more of the effort in. And even though it is not a good thing that they met and they didn't hash it out at brunch, I understand why. You want to have that initial meeting where it's like, okay, can we get to a place where it's not going to be hostile? Because if they had just met and out the gate said, okay, let's talk, boom, it would have been a bunch of hostility. Walls would have still been up, and both of them would have been clapping back at each other. So I understand Issa's inclination to say, okay, let's meet, and it be kind of just a getting to know what's been going on with you, checking in with each other. Molly hasn't been trying. And ultimately, Molly says to her, what if, basically, like, what if this is the end? Or what if we're not meant to be friends? What if who you are now is not someone that I can be friends with, or something to that regard? And Issa's like, hold up, for reals? Okay. And you can see she is like in the verge of crying. She is heartbroken. And Molly, I don't know what she expected. When you come to somebody with like a worst case scenario, it's almost like she gave her an ultimatum of saying, like, what if we just can't be friends? You don't really expect someone to. She expected, which we know she expected. She expected Issa to apologize for what she did wrong without having to apologize for the role that she played in the malfunctioning of their friendship. And both of them have harmed each other over the course of the show that we've seen. And so, and we have seen Issa attempting to grow and to take in those lessons, but we haven't really seen that wholeheartedly with Molly. And I would dare say, even when we go back to like her first meetings with Dr. Rhonda, the advice that Dr. Rhonda gave her then, she tried it for a little bit and then she flipped it and said, okay, I'm going to do it my way. I'm going to do it my way. I need to be the star. I need to be the shiny star. So let me, even though I'm supposed to be at Coachella with my girls, let me go ahead and agree to write this brief because I don't want Torian to get all the shine. We keep seeing her avoid the actual advice Dr. Rhonda is trying to give her, and she is really the one sabotaging her relationships. So that was the end. Issa got in her lift and she rode away, and it is just always heartbreaking because we've never seen them have a rift that lasts this long. But typically Issa has apologized for the things that she has done wrong. I must commend my girl because, like I said, she tried to take the steps to show that she has changed, and Molly wasn't 100% receptive of that. And I hate to see that she is burning these bridges, because I get the sense that she's also going to be burning her bridge with Andrew, and Andrew's going to get to a tipping point where he is going to say, this is not, I don't want to be with someone who he can't forgive. I'm the kind of person who I fix relationships with people, and I don't want to be with someone who breaks relationships with people again and again and again. So I think it will be a problem going forward in their relationship. What will be interesting is if her and Issa part ways, how much will the show be about Molly without Issa? Because really, it's Issa's show. Issa is the protagonist. So What will we get of Molly if her and Issa part ways? That'll be very interesting to see. Next week's episode is called Lowkey Losing, or Lowkey Losing It. So I think we're going to see, Lawrence get that job in San Francisco. Maybe we're going to see Nathan make a move on Issa and put her in like a compromising position. Definitely think we're going to find out what's going on with. So I definitely think we're going to see that. I think maybe we're going to see this, I can't talk today, but we're going to find out what happens with Molly and Andrew in hindsight of all of this. So I'm looking forward to Sunday's episode. I'm stressed a little bit because I'm just like, what is going to happen? And we still have not found out about Tiffany, and you can't tell me that woman is not dealing with postpartum depression. So I'm kind of concerned, but maybe that is why Issa was unable to get up with Kelly. So maybe we're going to find out about that. I don't know. I need next week's episode to be an hour. If next week's episode is 30 minutes, I'm going to be livid. I'm going to be livid. So I don't know what we need to do for next season. Do we need to start a petition to Issa to make the episodes longer? Like, what do we need to do to get more of the content we want out of the show? So let me know down below what y'all think. Every week I keep saying, tell me who do you side with at this point now. Are you still Team Molly? Are you Team Issa? Do you want Issa and Lawrence to be together? Do you want her to flip and go with Nathan? Do you want her to be solo? What is it that you're wanting to see in the last episode? Let's talk about it down below in the comments. And until next time, guys, toodles.